Super Mario 64 speedrunners, it's over. Pack your bags, take a vacation. This guy, greensuigi, has basically just become the GOAT of not just Super Mario 64 speedrunning, but speedrunning in general. There's 5 major categories in that game, and he holds the current world records for all 5, which in of itself is a world record. That's like a lot of world records. So allow me to explain just how crazy this is, and let us collectively feast our eyes on some absolutely insane skills. I'm Ash Dixon, and this is GINX News. Look, when you're outside the speedrunning bubble, it can be hard to quite understand how monumental this is. The dude is good at Mario, so what? But trust me, this is monumental. I mean, for reference, just look at the speedrun subreddit. Look at how many exclamation marks are in that title, and look at the lack of lower caps in the comments. Right now, the speedrunning community is that meme rap battle video. Everyone is going crazy, and this guy is Suigi. You can tell by how similar they look. But we'll get to him in a minute. First of all, we need to talk about why Super Mario 64 is the golden child of speedrunning. Because realistically, you can speedrun anything. Knack 2 completion, Baldur's Gate 3 sex runs, bankrupt a global social media company, any percent. But Super Mario 64 stands above the rest for several reasons. Released back in the year of 1996, it was a pioneer in 3D platforming. The devs at Nintendo had created a game that was incredibly easy to learn, but insanely difficult to master. Plus, on top of extremely fun and satisfying gameplay, the game has this perfect balance of glitches and exploits, which culminates in a vast array of different possibilities and categories. Historically speaking, this leads to 3 main categories. The original 16 stars, which at the time was the least amount needed to complete the game while using glitches. Then there's 70 stars, which is the intended amount to beat the game. And finally, 120 stars, which involves collecting every star in the game. However, as people explored, experimented, and dissected Super Mario 64, a new glitch was discovered which allowed the game to be completed with just 1 star. Soon after, that was done 1 better when a method of completion was found without the need of any stars at all. And that gives us the 5 main categories. Now, just because these categories all exist within the same game, don't be fooled into thinking that they're remotely similar. 0 stars is a sprint requiring pinpoint accuracy and glitch execution. 120 stars is a marathon, which is essentially nearly 2 hours of gameplay choreography, which must be completely memorized and performed flawlessly. Think of it like actual running events. The 100 meters is wildly different to 1,500 meters, which is wildly different to an ultra marathon. People normally specialize in one, let alone hold the world records in all of them. And considering that for years, thousands of people have dedicated God knows how many hours to mastering these categories, it just makes Suigi's achievement all the more impressive. So who is Suigi? Well, he's a 19-year-old kid from Canada. That's right, Super Mario 64 is nearly a decade older than he is. But despite his youth, this dude has experience. It was around 4 years ago that he started seriously speedrunning, and by 2021, he had his first Super Mario 64 world record, which he beat by just 0.3 seconds. Now, such a margin obviously wouldn't stand for long, and it would be in 2023 that his ascent to the throne would begin. He started with the classic 16-star category. As you can see, things didn't start great, with Suigi restarting a run just 1 minute in. But despite beginning his new attempt with a huge sigh, what was about to unfold would go down in Super Mario 64 history. Because over the next 14 minutes and 35.5 seconds, Suigi would put down a world record run for one of the most fiercely competed categories in speedrunning. In fact, not only did he take the record, but he crushed it by 6 seconds. That might not sound like much, but at the time, that was bigger than the gap for the top 2 places for 120 stars. For nearly 15 minutes, he essentially played as flawlessly as humanly possible, an 18-year-old making gaming history. Now, this celebration went on genuinely for like a whole minute, and for anyone taken back by his reaction, I just want you to imagine the years of dedication behind these achievements and the absolute intensity of 15 minutes of world-class concentration and execution. I can only imagine the rush. But Suigi wasn't done. 1 month later, he crushed the 1-star category with an insane time of 6 minutes and 57 seconds. Then 6 months after that, the 0-star record was his too, with a lightning fast run of 6 minutes and 16 seconds, a full 10 seconds ahead of the pack. Holding these 3 categories was already unheard of, but arguably they all require pretty similar skill sets. But Squeegee only continued to surpass what was thought humanly possible. Jumping into the deep end, his next goal was the coveted 120 stars. The record to beat was just over 1 hour and 36 minutes. That's an hour and a half of gameplay to completely memorize and then execute perfectly. This would be a grind, and a whole year after his last SM64 record, on November 4th, through grit and nerves of steel, Squeegee took the 120 star crown. 4 records down, 1 to go. At this point, Squeegee clearly had the ability to take 70 stars too. And yeah, while he had a sizable lead on all of his records, there were swarms of talented players hot on his heels, and it would only take one to jeopardize his 5 category prize. 3 days ago, on November 17th, Squeegee's 70 star run would begin. Now, of course, I'm not going to play the entire run here, and despite it lasting over 45 minutes, I do recommend watching it after this video. I grew up playing Super Mario 64. I remember being bad at the game, but even without that kind of context, watching Squeegee play is utterly mesmerizing. And between brief moments during loading screens to take a deep breath or to wipe the sweat from his hands, 46 minutes and 26 seconds later, like clockwork, Squeegee had done it yet again. Across all of speedrunning, it's hard to think of anything close to this achievement. On top of being the reigning king of Super Mario 64, he's also been nominated for Best Speedrunner for the Streamer Awards. I think we can all agree that he deserves our votes. And despite his obvious talent, he just seems like a decent dude in general. On his 16-star video, he uses the description to thank other speedrunners like Whichever Mirror, who got him into the game, and Bailey SM64, who sent him new controllers after his broke and he couldn't afford new ones. And that is the beautiful thing about speedrunning. While legends like Squeegee rise to the top, they stand on the shoulders of a dedicated, passionate community. Thousands of players who collectively find new routes and glitches which continually breathe new life into old games, and who support, encourage, and champion each other in order to achieve greatness. Speaking of community, we're trying to build our own here at GINX. You can join by subscribing, and you can get really involved by checking out our Patreon, which is free until the end of the month. We make these videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so I hope to see you soon.